Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out the new MSI Creator Z16. As you'll quickly realise from the name and the appearance of this laptop, we have in our hands something which targets the content creator, designer, or those who simply require something which is fine-tuned for work. Some of the features which mark Z16 out for the creators out there are the twin Thunderbolt 4 ports on either side, the Quad HD touch panel which not only delivers DCI-P3, but it comes in with a 120Hz refresh and touchscreen functionality. Z16 comes in with an i9 11th gen CPU, 32GB of DDR4 and the RTX 3060. Now there are a few different configurations floating around at different e-tailers, but for this particular spec of Z16 it is going to be $25.99 in the US, $2,500 in the UK and $4,000 in Australia. And so the pricing is way up there with those high-end laptops, and while we do get an i9, 32GB of DDR4, we are limited to that RTX 3060, which is interesting. At this price point, is it worth considering? Let's find out. Before we begin, today's video is brought to you by Corsair and the K70 RGB TKL Champion series. This new mechanical gaming keyboard arrives in the 10 kilos form factor and boasts per-key RGB backlighting as well as a durable aluminium frame. It also utilizes a tournament switch which allows the user to disable accidental macro activations and switch to static backlighting. K70 RGB TKL uses Corsair's Axon hyperprocessing technology, which enhances the speed of key inputs and delivers 8000 hyperpolling. To get yours, please check out the link in the description. Okay, so this is Creator Z16, and straight away you're going to get some MacBook vibes from this laptop because it is very reminiscent of the kind of style that Apple tends to implement. And so the colour tone that MSI has gone with is called Lunar Grey, and in my opinion it looks stunning. It definitely oozes that professional styling and is all about elegance. Now that 16 in the name denotes the size of the screen, which is 16 inch, and here are the actual dimensions. It is 359mm wide, 256mm deep, 15.9mm high, and the weight minus the charger is 2.2 kilos. And so this continues to be a sleek laptop that is thin and reasonably lightweight, which is going to be perfect for transportation. Now taking a look at that lid on Z16, we have no distinct features or carvings which we usually see on an MSI laptop. Things are being kept very sleek. The only noteworthy thing is that MSI logo which we have in the center there, that has been etched so there is no RGB lighting. So running down the left edge we have DC in for the power pack, which is a 180 watt adapter, ventilation for the CPU cooling, a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A Thunderbolt 4 Type C port, and then the headphone and mic combo port. While over on the other side we have a micro SD card slot reader which is UHS 3 compliant, another Thunderbolt 4 Type C port, another USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A port, and then the ventilation for the GPU heatsink and fan. And so we have dual Thunderbolt 4 on this unit, and it's really good to see that the Type A's are Gen 2. The only downside is that there are a few things missing, such as the video outputs and Ethernet. So if you do need those things, then you're going to need to get an adapter which is USB powered. The slim nature of this laptop means that those features have to be omitted. Around the back, you've probably guessed that we don't have any additional ports. The only thing we do have is some supplementary ventilation for the CPU and GPU. If we turn the laptop over, we have the rubber feet there to prevent the laptop from slipping around, and there is also plenty of ventilation for those internal components. Details on the SKU and the serial code are also on this back section, and so let's take off this back panel for a look at the internal design and the hardware. So here is an overview, and as you can see, that is the back side of the board. Now I did get partway through removing the board so that we could have a look at the components, but I actually don't have a lot of time with this laptop before it needs collecting to go back to MSI, and so I decided against it. Although we can't physically see some of these things, we'll go over them anyway. The CPU inside our laptop is based on 11th gen Tiger Lake architecture. It is the Intel Core i9-11900H, which is an 8-core 16-thread processor which can turbo boost up to 4.9 GHz. So we've already checked out the 11800H and the 11980HK, and so this slots right in between those two CPUs, so it'll be interesting to see how it performs. And then the graphics delivery is handled by the NVIDIA RTX 3060 GPU, and since we're dealing with such tight dimensions, that is a Max-Q design. And so the 3060 comes in with the 6GB of VRAM, and I'm surprised MSI has actually paired this up with such a high-end CPU like that i9 and such a large amount of DDR4. For content creators, a more powerful GPU would have been better balanced with this laptop, as that will assist with the more intense tasks that are undertaken. Now you can only see part of it, but the CPU and the GPU use MSI's Cooler Boost Trinity Plus thermal design, which makes use of 3 fans and 5 copper heat pipes. Towards the end of our video, we're going to be checking out the thermal performance so stick around for that. For memory, we have 32GB of Samsung DDR4, which operates at 3200. That is in dual channel, which will ultimately offer better performance than a single stick. And 32GB is more than ample for this type of laptop. For storage, we have just one drive, and it is a PCI Express driven M.2 using Gen 4. The model is a 1TB Samsung PM9A1, which, as we'll show later, can hit transfer rates of over 5,000 megasecond. The battery inside this laptop is a 4-cell unit, which is 90 watt-hour, giving you around 1.5 hours of light usage with that screen brightness on maximum and performing tasks like web browsing and watching YouTube, etc. To get the most performance, you will want to have that battery charger connected so that NVIDIA power saving mode doesn't impede on the performance. For networking, we're relying primarily on wireless, but we have the added bonus of Wi-Fi 6E, which comes from the killer AX1675, and that also gives us the Bluetooth 5.2. On this model, we have 4 2-watt speakers, which are supplied by Dynaudio, and as we've seen in the past, those speakers are punchy and certainly amplify that audio quality, taking it above average. Now the screen is where things get very interesting on Z16. As I mentioned previously, it is a 16-inch panel, IPS level, and also has the touchscreen. The touchscreen functionality may not interest all users, it may not be a deal breaker, but with it you can extend that productivity and it can make certain tasks easier to achieve. Now that display is Quad HD, and in terms of the color gamut, it is DCI P3, which is the preferred color space if you're wanting HDR. And on top of that, the refresh is 120Hz, which may not be quite the level of 240 and 360Hz that we've recently checked out, but it is still a marked improvement over the standard 60, and it is nice and smooth. Located at the top, we have a 720p webcam, and on a laptop of this class, we should really be getting a 1080p camera rather than having to compromise. Now that display falls right down to 180 degrees, and combining that with the touchscreen means that you can showcase your work and ideas in a group situation quite easily. Now while this isn't a gaming laptop as such, we do get a keyboard collaboration with SteelSeries, and this is what they term the mini LED backlit model. It is based on a QWERTY design, has a series of custom buttons across the top which amplify the functionality. And if you do want to tweak those colours, SteelSeries Engine 3 comes pre-installed and you can change it in there and even disable if you prefer backlighting off. And then finally we have the touchpad, which covers a huge amount of the palm rest area and it blends in pretty well. It also comes with a fingerprint reader which can be used for biometrics. The touchpad performs well and is accurate. Okay, so that is an overview of Z16 as far as the design and the features, and now it's time to check out some performance. And so the plan is to firstly go into Windows 10 from a cold boot to see how quick that is. Then we're going to see what the read and write performance is like for that SSD. And after that, although the laptop is designed for creators, it has a decent spec, and no doubt some of you will also want to do some gaming during your downtime. So we're going to run a bunch of games at that native Quad HD resolution. We're going to go with high detail preset since we have the 6GB 3060. We'll also monitor the temperatures and reveal those at the end. The very latest NVIDIA drivers have been installed, which are currently 47168. Okay, so first of all, let's boot our MSI laptop and see how quick we get into Windows 10 from a cold boot. But that concludes our look at the Creator Z16. This laptop is designed to attract professionals and content creators. The hardware spec is for the most part impressive with that i9-11900H, 32GB of DDR4 and a PCI Express Gen 4 driven M.2 SSD. Where things are a little bit underpowered are in the RTX 3060, which has just 6GB of VRAM. In a laptop of this caliber, the GPU falls behind. Ideally, we should be really looking at a minimum of an RTX 3070. If you did want to perform a few little upgrades in the future, it is not going to be easy, as I showed. You're going to need to detach lots of screws, lots of cables, and switch over that motherboard. Z16 does a decent job though at everyday tasks, more intensive content editing and gaming. Now the display has an interesting cocktail of features. It is Quad HD, 1600p, IPS, and it comes in with that 120Hz refresh. The color gamut is definitely more suited to HDR. It offers those good viewing angles, and it even has that touchscreen functionality. If you are planning to take this laptop into some gaming sessions, then at the native resolution it does admittedly struggle because the 3060 at 1600p does have a bit of a challenge on its hands. Even lowering to high detail from maximum, we encountered just about playable frame rates in even the more optimized of games. Z16 comes in with some great features, particularly the connectivity. We get those twin Thunderbolt 4 ports, and the USB are both 3.2 Gen 2. Biometrics are also available with that fingerprint scanner, and it comes in with some excellent audio and an RGB backlit keyboard. But what do you guys think of this laptop that we've been taking a look at today? Is it something that you would consider? Let's start some discussion in the comment section below. If you want more benchmarks, be sure to check out that web review. Link for that is going to be on the screen and in the description. Thanks for watching today, guys. Share the video to anyone that might find it useful. Show that support by liking the video and subscribing, and I'll see you guys next time.